CSS Class versus ID Selectors. Which one should I choose? By Megan De Leon. We know by itself HTML makes useful websites, but CSS adds all the style. We can add CSS directly to an HTML file in the head of our document or as an attribute within an HTML element. Or we can make a separate CSS file to store the information. This is the better, more organized way. Whichever way we choose, we always need to add our style with a selector and a declaration. The selector is the element to be styled. The declaration is what the new style will look like. In this example, the h2 tag is our selector, while color blue is the set of a property with a value that makes up the declaration. But what if we don't want the same style applied to all of, say, our h2 tags? We can get specific by using ID or class selectors. How do we know which one to use? ID or a class? ID selectors are unique. They must not contain any white spaces, like a space or a tab. They cannot start with a number. They are case sensitive and must contain at least one character. They are unique, like a name tag. There's probably only one ID Idalia in your herd of sheep, and you cannot have more than one element with the same ID. The syntax for an ID is a hash character. On the other hand, the class selector has two big differences. The syntax for the class is a period, and you can use the class selector to style a group of elements. These sheep in the clones class will all be fluffy, but only Idalia will have a pink hat. An element can have both a class and an ID. In HTML5, for both ID and class, the selector must contain at least one character, be case sensitive, cannot start with a number, and must not contain white spaces. But the ID is unique and the class is recyclable. Case sensitive means if you use fruit in your HTML, you must also call it fruit in your CSS. These are not allowed. Neither would this ID of just symbols. So remember, ID selectors are unique like a name, Honda, banana, or Idalia. And class selectors can be repeated, like cars, fruit, or clones.